Hello and welcome, all of you powerful self healers, to another episode of Sacred Pause, the Self Healers Podcast. As you can see, or as you can hear soon, we have a special co-host, Paige Clancy. She is my partner in love. I was gonna say partner in crime, but that just makes no sense. So yeah, thank you for coming, Paige. She just felt with our good friend Hailey, so here she is.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me. Hailey, I love you.
So Hailey Ann is our guest today. She is a doula in Los Angeles, California. She is truly the sweetest soul I've ever met, ever. She is a sexual abuse thriver, word thriver. And I know her sharing her story is gonna move and inspire not only me but anyone listening. So thank you so much, Hailey, for taking a sacred pause with us today.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be on your podcast, Kelsey. I listen to it every week and it's my sacred pause. It's so healing. So thank you for having me on to talk about this.
Mm, thank you.
Yeah,
Anything you want to say?
Hailey is like she is always listening to the podcast.
One fan.
She is your number one fan. When new episodes come out, it's so awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Hailey. Every time you text me anything about the episodes, I get more energy to keep doing it. So thank you. Keep them coming.
Oh, I will. Like, I can't help it. You just
Thank
hit
you.
me, and I have to share, that, you're helping me, with different things in life, and I'm processing things. And, now you're helping. We're living with Brandon's dad right now, and he just is in love with your podcast. He just loves your mission. He loves it. So thank you for what you
Oh.
do and being so vulnerable every week.
Billy. Oh, thank you, Hailey. Thank you.
Shout out to Billy. We love you.
Shout out to Billy.
Gosh. Okay, well, just to start us off, Hailey, I would love it if you just told us a little bit about your childhood, whatever comes to you when I ask that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I am 27 years old. I grew up in a really small town in Nebraska. I grew up on a dairy farm. I am the fourth generation to live on that farm. I come from a very mixed family. I have two full siblings, but then I have five half siblings. And so all my older siblings are older than me, between 5 and 12 years older. And where we grew up, it was just such an interesting environment because so many kids from different families were thrown together with my parents' marriage. Um, and, living on a dairy farm, we all go outside, we work on the farm. And so a lot of times there's not the most supervision. We're kind of just like left to fend for ourselves. And it was, a great place to grow up being around all the animals. That's where I got, my love from animals. We had cows, pigs, horses, dogs, cats, um, and a plethora of them. But it was a very cool place to grow up. But along those lines, with the lack of supervision, just with, only two parents and eight kids, there was just a lot of darkness that happened, a lot of confusion. And um, my mom's four kids that were in the house, all four of us, we were sexually abused by our half siblings, our half older siblings. And yeah, it was just a hard time growing up there because, not feeling safe at night. Um, and, just being so confused all the time on what a relationship between a brother and sister should look like. And so yeah, that's kind of, the environment that I grew up in. And it was difficult because not having that supervision, you're not seen by your parents the way you want to be seen. And then you have this on top of it. It's just like I felt like I was constantly like trying to gasp for air just for like any attention or validation for just who I was. And then adding on the sexual abuse on top of that, it was a lot. And so when I graduated high school, I got out. I went to college and I met Brandon, the love of my life. And
Mm.
it wasn't until after college that I even realized that I was sexually abused.
Wow.
I graduated with a special education degree, and after college, I worked in early childhood education. And it was incredible to work at the school that I worked at because we had monthly trainings where we would close the center down, and people from all over the country would come in and train us on low income families because that's the families that we serviced, and different, different trainings to help us work with them to become better teachers. And one day we had a sexual abuse training and what it looked like, um, in children, how the signs and symptoms can show up. And beforehand, the trainers, they told us, it's a very heavy topic. So if you ever feel like you need to leave the room, go ahead and leave the room. And I wasn't thinking anything about it. And then about 20 minutes in, I just got all these flashbacks, like just so many heavy flashbacks about the abuse when I was younger. And I started panicking and I went to the bathroom and I just locked myself in a stall, and luckily nobody was in there. And I was just like, holy shit, like my brother sexually abused me growing up. And it was just so much to process, so much to unpack. And then I still didn't tell anybody about it, didn't open up to anybody about it. And then we moved out to California and I got introduced into the Journey community. And on my second journey, I opened up to Brandon and his aunt about it. And it was the most freeing thing I have ever felt, to get it off my chest, to say I was sexually abused by my half brothers. It just like lifted so much weight off my chest. And ever since then, that was 3.5 years ago, I have just been diving deep into this healing. And you both have been such rocks and supporters in it all, you know, always making sure that I'm okay, making sure I don't feel alone, checking in, seeing how I'm doing. Um, it's just been, it's been a journey, and I'm so grateful to be where I am at now.
Oh, thank you.
Long
That was
intro,
very.
sorry,
No,
very
it
long
That
was
was like
intro.
the perfect amount of
it
intro.
was so succinct and clear, and you really captured a lot. It was awesome. And
Wow. Yeah.
just maybe for people who don't know what a journey is, can you just share a little bit about that? What you mean by got into journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I got introduced into the plant medicine community, one of them out here in Los Angeles, with Brandon's family. They are a huge part of it. And it's plant medicine ceremony. So we take like sassafras, psilocybin, I can't even think right now, but just
Kana.
different
Different
kana,
plants. Yeah.
white lily, um, all naturally derived plant medicine. And I was really, Brandon had talked to me about these journeys for 5 years, and I'm just like, was very interested, but very, very, very scared. I didn't, I grew up in a Catholic home, going to Catholic school, kindergarten through high school, church 3 times a week, cat or religion class 5 days a week in school. So to even hear about this, it was hard for my mind to wrap around that it wasn't drugs, that it was this medicine that can help heal you if you, open up to it and allow yourself to. So my first journey that I went to, it was a women's journey, and it was incredible. I felt so safe. I was able to, get in touch with myself and just, like feel myself truly, like my essence, in a way that I never have been able to. Um and yeah, it just opened me up and took down these walls to where in my second journey with Brandon there, I was able to, reveal like my deepest, darkest secret that I swore to myself that I was going to take to my grave with me. Because with it being, my abusers are my brothers, it's just, it's so messy because it's so messy. So I didn't want to disrupt the family by coming out and talking about this. And I didn't want to, you know, yeah, just tear the family apart because of this, even though we're already, my family has already been so torn apart from this. And so then I realized that to start healing it, I have to talk about it and bring, this darkness to light, because if we don't talk about it, then it just sits there and it doesn't have the opportunity to be brought to the light and to be healed.
Yeah. Was there like anything in you that wanted to protect them? Did you feel any like sense of like they're your brothers, you love them, they're your family, like you don't want to say anything bad about them?
Absolutely. I mean, I was in both of their weddings. My oldest brother, his first wife, me and her, she's honestly the first person that I felt like I had a soul, like this deep soul connection to. And I was the first one that she told about her two pregnancies with my brother. And me and her were so close that by the time it even like registered in my head that this happened, there was no way I could talk to anybody in my family about this because it would totally affect their relationship and then my relationship with her. And I mean, they ended up getting a divorce. He was extremely unfaithful. Um, and now me and her, we don't even have a relationship at all because it's too hard for me to be in her life because of the divorce. So it's just interesting how, my biggest fear with that, it came true, even without talking about it. And so,
Mm.
there's, as hard as it is, I have to speak my truth. So yeah,
So,
I did feel like this like I need to protect them. I need to protect my family, but that goes along with, survivor's guilt, you know, especially when it's like with your family. Um, yeah, you just feel like it would be safer if you just kept it bottled up. And in reality, you're just keeping yourself locked in this cage that where the door is always open. The door is always open. It's just your choice, to step through that door.
so once you were ready to share, how did that impact your healing?
It blew my life up. It it like once I opened up about it, that night was the best night of my life to this day.
Mm.
Um, but afterwards, that's when, the real work had to begin. And it was so confusing, so difficult. Um, but moving through it, like I started to find my voice more and more. So, like before I opened up to Brandon about it, when we would get intimate and I would get these flashbacks, I wouldn't stop being intimate with him even though I was not there. Like I was numb on the inside. Um, Even though he's the most loving, caring, sweet, gentle person ever, Um, but I didn't want to, I didn't want it, I didn't want those flashbacks to like interrupt our intimacy. So I thought if I just kept pushing through it, that would be better. And then eventually I'd be fine. But what I found was that when we would start being intimate, and if I would get a flashback or if I would start to feel uneasy, um, I would just ask him, "Can we please stop? Like I'm very triggered right now and I want to talk with you about things." And then we would be able to talk about it. And, he would even like be massaging my legs or my arms when we're talking about it. And that would just help, me get comfortable and get my body comfortable to know that he is a safe touch,
Mhm.
even though he's never, done anything wrong to hurt me physically. My body and my nervous system still struggled with touch from, him, even though he's my partner of 8 years. Um, so stopping and honoring like those feelings when they come up was just the game changer for me. Acknowledging it. And then like the other aspect of that too is that, it at times it could be really hard between me and Brendan in our relationship before I would tell him that I'm triggered because he wouldn't understand like why doesn't she want to be intimate with me? And that wasn't the case at all. I wanted more than anything to be intimate with him, more than anything, but it was just so difficult. I felt so numb on the inside, and once I started talking to him about it, he began to understand. And then our relationship, it just started to grow deeper and deeper to where, I mean, fast forward to 3.5 years now, and I don't get triggered. I haven't been triggered in so long when we've, been intimate. And that's so freeing. I'm just gaining back my power within my sexuality because that was stripped away at such a young age. Um, and so, I mean, it once I opened up about it, it blew everything up and it was very difficult to navigate. But now I've learned how to navigate it with the support of a tribe around me who really shows up. And it's like so important to have people in your life that are safe and who continue to show up for you. Um, because without that, I mean, I would still feel so alone. But thanks to you guys and Al and Rochelle and Amy and Brandon and my mom, it's just opened the door to so many more things than I could have ever imagined.
So good. You're so good, Hailey.
You're good at talking about this stuff, man. Good
I
job.
told you I was ready.
Yeah, you are.
So, can you talk a little bit about the shift from the mentality of protecting your brothers, protecting your family, to then protecting yourself and doing what was best for you and like gaining that clarity and then kind of what steps you took on that path and how that was for you?
Absolutely. So that was huge. Thank you for asking that because that was a huge step in, my self-healing journey. I was at this journey and I was just struggling. I just felt so much shame. Um, I felt like almost like sick. I was in the bathroom. I was like sitting in the bathroom wanting to purge for so long. And then this facilitator, Danny, she came in and she was talking with me. And I told her that, what happened, that I was sexually abused and that, I'm trying to work with it, but I just feel so stuck. And she opened up to me that the same thing happened to her by her half brother.
Mm.
Um,
Wow.
and that was just huge for me to hear, like, me too. I like, you're not alone. I'm here with you. And then she told me that I deserve to go through the stages of grief. And I am just trying to be at the end of it where I'm all healed. Everybody in the family is happy. I've forgiven my brothers. I've forgiven myself. I've forgiven my dad. And she was like, you need to get angry. Like, you deserve to be angry. Like, you need to get angry and protect yourself, protect your energy, and you need to work through the stages of grief. You can't just skip over them, and you're just skipping over the anger part. And I was just like, wow, you're so right. And then the rest of the journey, I had to verbalize to Brandon every memory that I could remember of the abuse. And it was so difficult, but Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The next day, it was just the most powerful thing ever. We're sitting in integration, the group of people that were at the ceremony, and I'm just like bearing my soul, opening up for the first time to a group of people what happened to me. And this man stopped me and he said, I just feel very called to, speak to you about something. And he shared with me that he sexually abused his younger sister.
Gee, truth bumps.
And oh my gosh, to feel every emotion move through my body at once, it was I still don't have words for it. I am so grateful that he was brave enough to speak out in front of 20 some people to share that. And he shared with me that he has talked to his sister about it. He went to his sister years ago and apologized, and they have a relationship. Um, and with him sharing that with me, it showed me that there was like a whole nother way to do this. Like
Mm.
that talking about it can, heal things. And so ever since that journey, I was on a mission to, find the strength and to be able to talk to my mom about it, my dad, my friends, and then eventually talk to, my half brothers who abused me about it. And I did all that, in the past
Yes,
year and a half.
you
You guys
did.
know
You
I did
did it.
all of that.
You just took it home. You did
Yeah,
not hold back all in. It was
Yeah,
so awesome to
Paige and I
witness.
were lucky enough to literally witness it.
We were next
We
door
were just
neighbors
sitting there
during this time.
listening. Yeah.
And yeah, to just get to be a part of this journey of yours in this realization of all of this and finding yourself again and acknowledging and then wanting to share that and take your power back. It was just so amazing. I mean, I'm just so honored to have been a part of it, that you trusted me enough and us enough to open up and let us support you, because I feel like so many people don't have the courage to do that. And it's just, I mean, it's so worth it when you do, because people are here to help.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And
I
that's
want,
what I didn't understand was that people want to help. Like I didn't have to bear this big secret alone. Like as scary as it is to say the words, I was sexually abused by my half brothers, it's not as scary anymore because, I've said it so many times to people that I feel safe around that now I feel comfortable getting on your podcasts and, sharing my story with people that I don't know.
Exactly. Yes.
can
Do you,
you can you just talk a little bit about like what exactly like sexual abuse entails? Because
mm,
maybe some people might think it's like, oh, if it wasn't forceful intercourse,
yeah.
then oh, it's not a big deal, or it wasn't sexual abuse. So maybe sharing some of your memories or what comes to you and telling people that is sexual abuse.
Totally. So, yeah, right now I'm getting very triggered because it's
Yeah.
hard to talk about like what I remember, but it's so good for me. But like we talked about beforehand, um, with my sexual trauma, when I get triggered, a lot of times I have to go to the bathroom. And growing up, I, me and my younger sister, uh, who was abused as well, we both wet the bed until I was 12 years old, almost a teenager, and she was like 10, 11. And it was because of the abuse. When, that's one of the first signs of sexual abuse, and, especially a female, if they're wetting the bed as they get older, that's a huge sign. But so yeah, I need to use the restroom real quick if that's okay.
Yes.
Oh, oh, of
Go
course,
for
of
it.
course.
Go for it. Hi.
Okay. Hi, I'm back. Thanks.
Yes.
Of course.
Oh, thank you for taking care of yourself.
Seriously.
You're welcome. I wouldn't have been able, I couldn't have sat here any longer. It was time.
It was that bad. Damn.
Let it out.
Yeah. Um, okay, but yeah, so you were asking about, just like what sexual abuse looks like and, what it can be. So yeah, for me, how it happened was at night, or if I was in the house alone with one of my brothers, um, they would put their hands down my pants and they would touch me. And then and that the youngest memory that I have of that, I'm like around age 2. Um, and then as I got older, they would have me touch them as well. And that is obviously sexual abuse. I don't remember ever being penetrated, so I'm very grateful for that. Um, but I mean, whenever somebody touches your body or even says something to you that is sexual and inappropriate, that's sexual abuse. It's very, very simple. If it makes you uncomfortable and you weren't asking to be touched, or you weren't asking for messages to be sent, or whatever it is, that's sexual abuse. And I didn't understand that until, the past couple of years, that it really is, it's consent. If somebody isn't consenting to your sexual advances, or if they don't have the capability to consent like a child, it's abuse.
Mm-hmm.
What what did you make this sexual abuse mean at the time, and what do you make it mean now?
At the time, I really didn't make it mean anything, like really nothing. But then once they graduated high school and they left and then it stopped, that's when, looking back now, is where I got very, very confused.
Hmm.
Like, very confused, because they left for college and I never saw them or talked to them again. Like, it was like maybe once or twice a year. Um, and so it was very, very confusing. And I mean, like when my parents got divorced when I was 7 years old and we moved to Lincoln, we lived in this big apartment complex, and I I knew that like making out and doing things were wrong and it was supposed to be hidden from my parents, but that didn't stop me from doing things. Like, I was 7 years old and I was making out with my neighbors. Like, we would like hook up. I don't remember having sex, but we would, play with each other. And I was 7 years old and I thought that was, I knew there was something wrong about it, and that like my parents couldn't know, but part of it felt so right. And that's because
Mm-hmm.
it is right. Like, we are sexual beings. And unfortunately for me, it was that sexual side was activated in such a young way that I didn't even understand what I was doing. And so it took a lot of time to claim that back and understand, you know, what what it means to like even make out with a person, even let them
Yeah.
touch you. It took me a long time to even understand how deep and intimate that was.
Mm-hmm. Okay, when you mentioned your brothers moving out and you just felt super confused because you had lived this life up until that point where like this abuse was like it was part of your life. That was just like a normal thing that occurred. You didn't know any different. Did you like feel like an attachment to them like through that, and then did you feel like you were missing something when they left, or was it a relief?
All of it.
Mhm.
Like, because I was so young. And so, I mean, the first one left when I was like 9 or 10. Hold on just one second. Come here. Um, the first one left when I was like 9 or 10. So I still like, I still didn't understand that what they did was wrong. And so, but there definitely was a part of me that, they told me don't tell anybody about it. So when they left, there was this huge relief, but just this confusion of, they're gone, but they don't want to talk to me. They don't want me to be a part of their lives. Like, what is a relationship between a brother and sister look like? Like, I thought when, my siblings would go to college that they still would call, check in, like do any of that, but they didn't do anything like that.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it was just so confusing on what a sibling relationship would look like. And so with me and my younger siblings, who my younger brother and sister were full siblings, I mean, our relationships growing up were so chaotic, so chaotic. We didn't get along. Me and my sister, we did, but it was just like there was this huge thing keeping us apart, and I could never touch on it until, I realized that I was abused. And then that was the first time I had the thought, what if it happened to them? I didn't even think about it, but and then when as you guys know, I asked them about it, and eventually they both opened up to me and told me that it happened to them as well. And ever since then, I feel like our relationships are amazing between me, my younger brother and sister, like just amazing. We talk multiple times a week. They call me all the time, which never used to happen. Like, we are siblings who now have a normal, healthy relationship where we talk weekly. We're there for each other. We have fun together, And with my half siblings, there isn't any of that.
Well, you did that with Cody and Katie, you opening up to them and sharing what was true for you and asking them if, asking them their experience. You created that safe space with them, and of course, now there's nothing in between you. There's nothing, no one's hiding anything. Everything's out in the open. You can acknowledge each other for who you are.
Yeah, and even though, they're not ready to talk about this, they both just shared with me that, it happened to them too. And, that was enough. You know, it has taken me, I mean, I've known for almost a year about both of them. And the first couple months, like, I just wanted to talk with them about it. I wanted to, because I mean, I'm still putting together pieces of what exactly happened, how many times, all of this stuff. And so I was really wanting to, talk with them to give me more closure. But also, it was because when I found out about them, like my heart just completely shattered because I felt like I failed them as an older sister. I couldn't protect them. And excuse me. And, obviously now I know that was never my responsibility. And I don't feel that way anymore. Um, but I wanted to, protect them and let them know, like, I can be here in this with you, but, they don't have the support group that I have where, we talk very, very deeply and intimately about things. And, they're a little bit younger, and I'm totally okay with that they're not ready to talk about things yet. And if they're never ready to talk about it, that's totally, totally okay. And I respect that, and I honor, their process and their truth. And but that doesn't mean that, I'm going to stop talking about my truth, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. You want to go?
The issues of having a
I
co-host.
have one on deck.
The issues of having a co-host. Oh, I think you touched on it a little, but I just want to know your relationship with forgiveness.
it's it's an interesting one, because like there are moments where I feel like truly have forgiven them for what they did to me when we were younger. Um, but what like keeps me from it is like where we're at now, especially with one of my brothers. Um, after, I talked to him about it and I confronted him about the abuse. Um, he called every single one of our family members and told them that he abused, me and my younger sister. And he never admitted to even abusing my younger brother at the time, even though, he called my younger brother and said, I want you to know that I abused your two sisters, even though he did it to him as well. It was just so, and then after that, his wife had a miscarriage and he blamed it on me, and then completely cut me out of his life. Blocked me on all social media, blocked my phone number, everything. So with him, I am still struggling with, forgiveness for the way he's handled it. Um, because, he was just really, just thinking about himself and saving his marriage and not, thinking about how it would affect anybody else. But I mean, I don't think about him anymore, which is amazing. Like my brothers, they don't come up for me as heavily as they used to, which is, that's how I know that, I'm healing and that, I'm taking care of the little girls inside of me because they feel okay. They're not like jumping out screaming, their names at me anymore. They're like
Mm.
calm, they're relaxed. And so
Mm.
now it's just my 27-year-old self that needs to, just accept that he's handling things the way he is and that I can't do anything about it and that, I don't need anything from him, you know.
That's awesome that he doesn't have that power over you that he used to. You found that. You've taken that
Yeah.
back.
Yes. I have taken back my power and it feels amazing.
You have. It's amazing to witness.
Mhm.
And I want to ask you about your parents. So, the adults, the parents of all of these kids living in this house with all of this abuse going on for years, multiple people, multiple children. How, what do you make of that today?
That they did the best that they could. They had so much on their plates,
Mm,
so much on their plates that they did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had, you know,
mhm.
25 years ago. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of parents, they're not educated on signs of sexual abuse, signs of, trauma, of just, what it looks like when your child is unhappy, you know. There's no system set up for parents to receive this type of education. And so they feel, like they have to do it alone. And when there were so many kids in the mix, it was, a marriage set to fail from the start. They weren't in love. They My mom, she was living in Phoenix, my dad was living in Nebraska. They met in Colorado one night, got pregnant with me, and they both already had children of their own. And so then they had to get married because they're both Catholic. And so then it was just they they were in way over their heads. And so, I mean, I definitely have a lot of compassion for both of them. Um, Me and my dad's relationship still is not where I would like it to be. I still am struggling with, feeling like safe and comfortable and like I can be vulnerable and myself in front of him. Um, so yeah, but me and my mom, we are extremely close, and I'm so happy that Paige, you convinced me to just tell her about it because that, rolled everything into motion. And, me and my mom, we talk about it quite often. it comes up for her, and she'll ask me questions, and we're able to talk about things, which is really amazing.
That is, wow. And your perspective is so elevated and mature. Like, the first thing you said is like, you have compassion for them and they're doing the best. They did the best they could with the knowledge they had. And it's like, even for me, I'm just like, get angry. I'm like, but how did you not, how could, and I mean, but I think where you're standing, that's a great perspective to have. And that is the truth. That is the truth.
Definitely the truth. What did you have any specific tools that got you to that perspective? I'm sure it didn't happen overnight.
I mean, I had to get fucking angry.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so pissed off at my mom, my dad, my brothers, my like everybody in my family. Like, how did you not see this? Like, it was very, very, very obvious, apparently, from my standpoints. Um, but yeah, I had to release all that anger. I had to protect the parts of me that my parents didn't protect. I had to take responsibility and ownership and get angry and release it, so then I could actually look at the situation from up here, and then I'm looking down and I'm seeing the chaos. I mean, absolute chaos. And then it's like, oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, like they both came from very chaotic homes themselves. They didn't really know what a stable home looked like. Um, both of my parents have very deep-rooted emotional and physical abuse and trauma. And so once I was able to see them for what they are, which is human, they're doing the same thing we are, living this human experience. And yeah, then I could see that they didn't have any other tools. They didn't have the support that they needed, just like I didn't. And so that's why I feel like it's so important to talk about all of this. So, you know, the next generations, they have the proper tools to see these signs, so they can like watch out for all of this and be able to talk about it. And, like not using words for like your private parts, calling them like a coochie or whatever it is that parents call them. It's so important to call them your vagina, your penis, your boobs, your butthole. Like, it is so important to start that at a young age, because abusers, they will use different words for your vagina, your boobs, and then kids, they don't associate it.
Wow.
But parents are so scared to even talk about sex.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about this in the car. Like, whenever somebody hears the word sex, like, what happens in your
Those are
body?
ears. Yeah.
It, like, at least in my body, it naturally gets kind of tense. And then you say the word sexual abuse, and then it's just like even more, our bodies aren't used to talking about such sensitive topics. And that's why this abuse keeps on happening. And that's why we have to talk about it and bring it to the light so it can be talked about in a more normal way and it's not such a taboo thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of my little rants.
I love your rants. Can you talk a little bit about your conversation with your brothers when you called them, you know, confront them about this and what you were feeling and how you prepared for that, how it went, and
Yeah, so I look at my two brothers a little bit differently. My older one, he didn't do it very often. But the younger one, he did it quite a bit, and like he taught me about sex, what it was when I was 7. And then, I went to school and I'm like telling kids what sex is. Like, sorry, red flag. Like, but anyways, so with my older brother, I wasn't as like nervous to talk with him about it. So, like, preparing for it, I talked with my mom my dad and my younger siblings about it first. And then, I just felt, called to talk to him about it. And, he admitted to it right away. He was just like, yeah, I, I, I do remember, that happening. And he apologized for it. But, it was like a call out of the blue. We don't have a relationship. And so I could tell that, it wasn't, we just didn't get very deep. We didn't really talk about as much as, I would have really liked to. Um, and then with my other brother, it took me another like 6 months to talk to him about it because I was so angry that he did it to my younger siblings too. Just so angry at him for that. So I really wanted to work through that anger before, jumping on a phone call with him and then, not getting anything out of it because I'm just angry. So then, yeah, when I called him, I had my whole support system around me. I had Paige and Kelsey, my boyfriend Brandon, and then Brandon's mom and his stepdad Al. And um, I called him and well, I texted him the night before asking if we could talk on the phone about something. And then I woke up and I had multiple phone calls from him, multiple text messages saying he knows what I want to talk about. Like, can he just talk now? Because he's going on vacation with his wife. And I was just like, ugh, like, this is not on your time. Like, can I at least, wake up for an hour before, I confront you about sexually abusing me? That was really hard, but you guys were there and it helped. But so yeah, when I called him, he was crying and, admitted to it right away. Um, admitted to doing it to my younger sister, not about doing it to my younger brother. Um, and then, he put his wife on the phone and she was crying. She was so upset, obviously, finding out that, your husband did this to his sisters is pretty disturbing. Um, and she opened up to me that she was sexually abused by her neighbor right then and there when she was younger. Um, and I was really confused on that phone call. I mean, I, I didn't realize at the time how confused I was, but I was so caught up in their emotions and him being like crying, so sad, and her being so open and vulnerable that it was just like, it was I felt free afterwards, but it was still just very confusing because then he called every single one of my family members and told them, even the siblings that it didn't happen to, they didn't know about it. And then, for the next week, I'm getting phone calls from my family being like, hey, John, or your brother called and said, he sexually abused you. Are you okay? And I'm like, talked to him. I told him, yeah, I'm okay. I have a great support group. Um, but then, I don't hear from those half siblings again. Like, it's been almost a year. And that's just how the relationships with that family, that side of the family, panned out. And that's why I'm so grateful with, my younger siblings that we actually are able to have like functional, real relationships. But yeah, it was really hard making those phone calls, but the most freeing thing ever to be like, I know your dirty little secret. You're not alone. Like you have had 20 plus years to come to me and talk to me about this, but you've been a coward and you've been putting all your shame, all your guilt, everything on me, and I'm done with it. You I'm giving all of that back to you and I'm taking back my power. And it was just the best thing ever. The best thing ever.
Mm. Man, Haley.
So, um, take yourself back to a time when you were younger. If you can think of a time where you were just like rock bottom, suffering so much. If you can tell your little girl something to maybe help her heal faster and maybe a little less confusing, what would you tell her?
I mean, I don't know if I could have told I can tell her anything to like help her heal faster
Mm-hmm.
because so much of my healing had to do with, my age and getting out of Nebraska, coming to California, finding, a tribe. But if I could tell her anything, it would just be that like you are so strong and so brave and so resilient and you have the best tribe of people waiting for you and everything is going to be okay. Just like
Mm.
keep breathing,
Mm-hmm.
keep moving on. Like you're getting to California and it's going to be okay.
Getting off that farm.
Step
Getting out of
one,
that
yeah,
state.
one step at a time.
Yeah, and then getting out of that state was
Mm-hmm.
huge.
Truth bumps all over for that one. That was so
Mm-hmm.
good.
You definitely touched on a couple really good points, but if you had any advice for anyone who has gone through any sexual abuse or for parents who can look out for signs or anything like that, you can share anything like that, like that. That'd be great.
Like that. I'll do it like that.
Do it like that.
Uh, like that. Um, so for anybody that this has happened to, you're not alone. And even if it's reaching out to me, if you haven't told anybody, like I am always available. Always, if you don't feel like your core group of people will hold you in this safety net of just love, then reach out to me or Paige or Kelsey and like you can let this burden off of you. You don't have to hold any of this alone. Like there are people out there who want to help. You just have to be brave enough to take that step and open your mouth, and speak your truth.
Mm-hmm.
And to any parents who, are might think it happened to one of your children, just ask.
Mm.
Like just
Yeah.
ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling with talking about sex with your kids, just talk to them about it. Tell them you're struggling about talking with them about it, that it makes you uncomfortable, but that it's something that, needs to be communicated with. And, our parents should be this, voice of reason that we can go to, with our sex life and our sexual experiences. And, you know, so like, yeah, any parents just talk about it. It's scary, but your kids will appreciate it more than you can imagine.
Yes.
Mm.
Mm.
What's your favorite thing about yourself?
Physically or internally?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Whatever you want, yeah.
Physically, I love my eyes. I love
Oh.
Oh,
looking into my eyes. Um, I can like happily say that I am in love with myself, and I love that.
oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, my eyes are just the gateway to my soul. Um, and then just like internally, what I love about myself is that like I can just hold space for people to experience their truth. And I'm really grateful that I can, provide space for women, especially to feel comfortable and to feel like, they're seen. So yeah, I appreciate that about myself.
Oh,
I agree with both those
yes,
fully.
yes.
Thanks,
Oh,
guys.
so a couple more questions, but self-love question, of course, because you mentioned you love yourself. When was the first, like, can you recall that time where you were like, I love myself? Like, truly felt self-love?
Yeah.
Tell,
I was
tell.
looking in a mirror at a journey. And, sometimes when you're on plant medicine, you look in the mirror and you can kind of look a little weird.
Oh, weird.
But I looked into the mirror and I looked into my eyes and I just saw myself. I just saw myself and I was just like, holy shit, I am so beautiful. I am so
Yeah.
amazing. I am so wise. Like, wow. Oh my God. It was like the first time I ever saw myself. And, I'm a girl. How many times a day do I look at myself in the mirror and not see that, not feel that?
Mm.
But ever since that experience, my relationship with the mirror has significantly changed. I love dancing in front of the mirror when I'm home alone. Like, I will just dance and dance and dance, and it's so much fun. And I'll do it naked. Like, yeah, and it's just, I just love to see myself moving, being free, like it's just, yeah,
Aw.
incredible.
Yeah.
Mm, mm,
That's we gotta start doing that.
Yes, you
Dancing naked in
do.
front of the mirror.
Can we start with clothes on? I like baby steps. I'll do it with
I
clothes on.
say just
Okay.
go for it.
Oh, I'm sure you do, Hailey. Powerful, powerful Hailey. Oh gosh. Okay, a couple more questions, but before I get to my last two, I love to just open it up to you, my guest. If you want to ask me a question, Paige a question, or just share anything you feel called, that would be great.
That would be great. Um, I
Or you
just
don't
want to
have
say,
to.
I just want to say thank you to you both. Like, this isn't an easy topic to talk about, but I feel like between the three of us, we are making it,
Easy.
we are changing this taboo around sexual abuse and sexual violence. And, we are raising that vibration, we are bringing it to the light. And I just couldn't be more grateful and appreciative to have you two here with me doing that. I'm not alone. And you both are just so brave and vulnerable and kind and loving. And your families are so lucky to have you. And I'm so lucky to have you. And like anybody that's listening, like literally from the first moment I saw Paige and Kelsey, I could see their love. And it's just the most magical thing ever. So if you can like get to know them because they will change your life for all the most amazing ways.
Thank you,
So thank
Haley.
you guys.
Wow.
That was so sweet.
My buttholes.
My bottles.
We love buttholes.
We don't
it's a,
actually. It's just the word.
it's
We
an
love the word.
inside joke, okay? It's an
It
inside
is
joke.
the highest term of endearment in our family.
Exactly. Now everyone will
That's true.
understand.
That's true.
Okay,
Mhm.
so Haley, to all the listeners who are just dying to get to know you more, to connect with you, to hopefully open up and share with you if that's what they need, how can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at love through everything, love.through.everything.
Yep.
I am going through this whole like shed, social media like shed.
Mm.
So you won't see any content up right now, but I have lots of really good content coming. But you're always welcome to DM me. Yeah, so that's where you
Love
can
it.
find
And I'll
me.
put that in the show notes to
And
make
is
it
it
easy.
through THRU?
Yeah,
Okay.
And again, I'll put in
Yeah.
the show notes.
Yes.
Copy paste, my fave.
there we go.
Okay, for the final question, what does a sacred pause mean to you?
Just feeling yourself again, like feeling my essence, whenever I can get that moment to feel me, you know, that's a sacred pause because I'm not letting the world or my head or my thoughts interfere with anything. I'm just present and it feels so good. And,
Mm.
there's different things that I do to help me get to that, like listening to podcasts, listening to music, just laying down in complete silence or grabbing one of my pets, my cat or my snake, there's just all these different tools that are around you constantly to just help you get back to, yourself.
Oh, I love that a lot.
I love that, feeling your essence. So good.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Hailey. Thank you so much.
No, I don't want to leave you, Hailey.
A plus 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 plus.
Good thing
Okay,
I'll be
guys.
there soon.
We could chat later.
Okay, Mom.
Okay, we'll chat offline.
We'll hang up,
Okay.
but we can still chat. Okay, Hailey. Okay.
Sounds good.
See you guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.